So, in today's workshop, I'm going to be talking about how to successfully lose weight, increase your energy, and balance your hormones without restriction. So, without restriction, meaning without following food rules and relying on willpower and discipline and spending a lot of hours just, thinking about and stressing out about food and exercise. So, we're going to talk about how to lose weight sustainably, meaning that you lose weight and you can actually maintain it and keep it off, and have more energy. So, we want to lose weight without sacrificing our energy. And by the end of our time together, you're going to learn my 4-step framework that will help you to achieve a healthy, stable weight, balanced hormones, and consistent energy. And I'm going to talk more about why the balanced hormones is a key part to sustainably and successfully losing weight without feeling like you have to stress over calories or spend a lot of time in the gym and follow all of these like crazy rules and things that are out there that make it seem really, really difficult. So, and I also want to just let you know that if you stay with me until the end, again, I mentioned that this is going to be about 45 minutes. I would love it if you could stay for the whole thing. I will be sending out a replay for those who registered. So if you feel like you wanted to take more notes or like go back and listen to anything, you'll definitely be able to do that. But I do want to let you guys know that if you stay until the end, I will share a link with you to download this Build Your Plate Guide. And it tells you exactly how to do a lot of the things that we're going to go over in this workshop, but also just building your plate in a way that gets rid of cravings, keeps you full, keeps you satiated, balances your hormones. And there's also 3 days worth of recipes in there. So breakfast, lunches, and dinners that you can use to kind of get you started and get you feeling a little bit inspired. So I really want to encourage you during this time to turn off all distractions. I know that it's really easy to multitask, and I do this as much as humanly possible because I feel like we have so many things to do. But I do want to encourage you to just turn off all distractions and really take this time to focus, dedicate this time to you, close the doors if you have to, put your phone away, whatever it takes. But I want you to be able to focus during this time so that you get a lot out of this and you find it really, really valuable. So I talk to a lot of women who have been trying really, really hard to lose weight and improve their body composition. And even if they haven't been trying for a really, really long time, maybe they're interested in getting started. So they want to do something, but they're not sure exactly what direction to go in. And my guess is that if you're here, you've either tried a lot of things or you are currently trying things, maybe here and there, but you maybe feel like you can't be consistent with them, or you're not sure exactly what you should be doing. So feel free to share in the chat box too if you have either been doing a lot of things for a long time and you're kind of feeling like burnt out from it, nothing is really working for you, you're not getting the results that you want to get. Or you can let me know B, if you are kind of in the beginning stages, you are getting started, and you want to make sure that you are on the right track. You want to make sure that you're doing the right things, and that you're not wasting your time and your energy. So let me know if it's A or B, or share with me like something in between, kind of like where you are just on your health journey right now. So whatever it is, most of you probably want to see changes in your body composition, and you want to do so without getting burnt out or, again, wasting time, wasting money, working really hard for minimal results, which I feel like a lot of women make those mistakes. So I'm going to talk more about that. And I'm going to be covering a lot of information. So again, we'll leave room for questions at the end. But also know that this is like the tip of the iceberg with everything that you can learn, and that we can cover as much as we can in this 45 minutes, but there's a lot more to it. So I'm going to teach you what you need to know right now just to get started. And I also want to let you know that at the end of the workshop, I'm going to share with you an opportunity to take things further and actually get support in carrying out the 4-step framework that I'm going to go over. So if you're interested in that, then definitely stay until the end. I'm excited for this opportunity, and I want to make sure that I share it with all of you, especially since you're taking the time out of your day to learn this information. So before we go any further, I want to just let you know and confirm that you're in the right place if you struggle with stubborn weight, fatigue, cravings, anxiety, PMS, digestive issues like gas and bloating. And you don't have to have all of those issues, but even if you have 1 or 2 of them, this information is going to be really helpful for you. And a lot of those issues are connected, so they kind of overlap in the recommendations and things that you can do to help all of them. If you are feeling a little bit confused about what you should or should not be eating for your body's needs, which everybody's body's needs are different because we're all individual females, and I'm going to talk more about that. You're also in the right place if you want to learn how to fuel your body properly. So I'm really big on this, learning how to fuel your body properly instead of just following kind of like arbitrary rules and not really understanding why you're doing what you're doing is very, very important. If you are confused with all the information that's out there and you hear different things that work and don't work and you wonder what you should actually be doing, and this is really easy in this day and age because we have Instagram, social media, there's even like commercials in the news telling you what to do. And then like Susie down the street is following keto and lost 20 pounds. So then you want to do keto. It's everywhere, right? But we need to figure out what's going to work for you. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. And also you might find that, and this is for those of you who are very seasoned dieters, or maybe you are moving into your late 30s, into your 40s, and you're realizing that what used to work for you in the past does not work for you anymore. So you can also let me know, yes, in the chat box if that sounds like you. And it sounds like some of you, so Megan says that she's just unsure where to start and she's lacking motivation. Some of you are definitely in that boat, and this is going to help you to move in the right direction and actually get motivation, because I'm going to tell you how easy it really can be and the best way to get started. So what you're going to learn is, I'm going to talk about first the 4 biggest mistakes that are preventing you from sustainable weight loss and just making things way harder than they have to be. And I'm also going to go over, like I mentioned, the 4-step framework that you can use to eliminate cravings, support your hormones, optimize your metabolism, and easily maintain your weight while eating foods you enjoy. So it's really important to find a plan that is actually enjoyable. And if you've worked with me one-on-one before, you know that I'm not a huge supporter of giving up all of the foods that you love. Like, it's very important to enjoy everything that you're doing, and understanding how food makes you feel too. That will also help you to pick and choose what you really do want to be eating and what foods actually bring you joy. So we're also going to talk about how hormones play a key role in regulating your weight, your metabolism, your mood, your sleep, your energy, all of those things. That is why we can't talk about fat loss without talking about hormones. And I'm going to simplify it for you in a way that makes it very easy without having to do like a bunch of hormone tests or supplements or like crazy diets or anything like that. And I also am definitely going to touch on where all of these different trends come in, because the most common questions I get are probably about different diets. So keto and intermittent fasting are probably the biggest ones. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about, paleo and Whole30, plant-based diets, because I know a lot of people are jumping on that boat right now. So I will explain kind of like how those things fall into place. And then also, I'm going to talk about how to figure out what works for your individual digestion, metabolism, your schedule, and your preferences, because everybody's different there. So that is going to be covered in the 4-step framework. And then also, I'm going to talk about why relying on willpower and being more disciplined with diet and exercise is not necessary for long-term success, because I feel like a lot of women think it is, and it's not. So I want to know if this sounds like you. So if you want to maintain a healthy weight without obsessing over dieting and exercising, You want to learn how to figure out exactly which foods do and don't work for your body. You want to optimize your metabolism and your hormones. And if you're not quite interested in that yet, I'm going to hopefully get you more interested in doing that, because it really is the key to like figuring out what works for you. And also you want to discover what's actually important for long-term fat loss, and just feeling your best. So if any of those resonate with you, feel free to chat in the chat box. The more interaction we can get, the better. I love it if I know you're listening, that's just a little bit helpful for me, because I can go on and on and on and just talk. So just let me know if any of that resonates with you. And like I mentioned before, when we talk about weight loss, we have to talk about hormones and metabolism. It's a missing piece in a lot of the diets and advice that's out there. So I'm going to talk about why this is. I'm going to share some of my own experiences, and I also am going to go over some key principles that I've learned along the way, just from working with women, and from doing things myself, and from also doing a lot of research and education and things like that. So I hope these things will also be really, really valuable to you, because I want you to know that you can eat and move in a way that's really easy to maintain your weight. It shouldn't feel like you're like chasing weight loss all the time. You can do it without obsessing over calories or exercise or stressing about what you should and shouldn't be doing, or sacrificing your time and energy. If anything, if you feel like you don't have enough time to prioritize this, once you do, you'll find that you actually get a lot of time back because what you're doing is so simple and easy. So that's something that I also hope you get out of this workshop. Good. I'm glad you guys are saying yes. So I'm glad that resonates with you. And like I said, so I'm not going to get too deep into my story for time's sake today. But I do want to share just why I'm so passionate about helping women understand their body and lose weight in a way that's healthy and sustainable. Because I have seen a lot of women, from even as early as like 16, 17 years old, which is when my like health journey kind of started, all the way into their 60s, just stressing about their body and stressing about losing weight. And these women also, they think that the way to get healthy, and I was one of these women, so I'm like speaking about myself. So we think that the way to get healthy is by restricting, counting calories, portion control, and then exercising more. Like the more exercise, the better, right? And eventually too, like for me, I progressed into being really, really strict with macros, with meal plans, with foods I can and can't have. Again, like putting a lot of label on food being good and bad, and just creating a stressful relationship with food. So like I said before, we're inundated from every direction with what we should be doing. So it's really not our fault that we're, falling into this trap between the diet industry, also what we were taught like growing up as a kid. We had to eat our broccoli to earn the dessert, or maybe we saw like our moms dieting all the time. They were doing Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or something like that. Back whenever low fat was a big thing. And then there was like the South Beach diet whenever low carb was the thing. So these are all things from like the 80s and 90s, and just these ingrained thoughts that we have about food, also about our body, about what weight we should be, and just misconceptions from everywhere, especially social media today, about what healthy looks like. So we're going to change what healthy looks like. And it might surprise you. You might be doing a lot of things that could be quote unquote good, right? Like they could be helpful, but they're misapplied. So there's kind of a combination. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but we find things from wherever we're getting information from, and it's either misinformation, so it's just plain wrong. It's usually like promoted by someone or something, or it's misapplied information. So what you're trying to do works for a 25-year-old active male, not for you, or there's a lack of direction. So my framework will help to point you in the right direction. But this combination really kind of leaves us feeling stuck or feel like we're trying everything, but nothing's working. And so a lot of women are doing some things that work. Like they'll come to me saying, oh, I've done keto for a while, or I, used to count calories, or maybe they've done a Whole30 or paleo or something like that. But they find that they can't stick with it because they're misapplied. They're not part of this bigger system or framework. They're just like pieces of the puzzle that we're not really putting together in the right way. So it's important that you get really, really clear what you need to focus on, and you do the right things in the right order at the right time. So a little bit about me again. I'm not going to go too far into my story, but I think it's important you know who I am. I know some of you have been in my world for a while, maybe like 5 or 6 years, while others of you, this might be the first workshop you've ever attended. And then others of you I've worked one-on-one with in some capacity. So that's a very old picture, by the way. We need to do an updated photo shoot. If anybody has good photographer recommendations, send them my way. But I am a nutritional therapy practitioner. And I actually have a very strong background in personal training and fitness. That's kind of how I started out. So I went to Penn State, studied kinesiology, learned all about human physiology. And then my passion kind of turned to focus more on nutrition. And again, those were the years when I was thinking I was doing all the right things, but it was just basically me counting calories, looking at good foods, bad foods, and exercising as much as I possibly could. So from going through a lot of trial and error with different styles of diets, and again, like counting macros and different like exercise plans and workouts, I've done almost everything. I kind of came to the conclusion that I needed to focus more on other areas of my health that would actually support my energy, because I was feeling really, really burnt out, really, really fatigued, and still was never really like completely satisfied with my body. So jumping from diet to diet was really pointless in the end, except that it taught me a lot about what works and what doesn't work. So I'm trained specifically in functional nutrition and looking at the whole entire body, all the different systems of the body and how they play an important role in how we function on a day-to-day basis. And also for females on a week-to-week basis and a monthly basis. So I also have done a lot of education and research on female hormones, how our cycle affects our energy, our cravings, our sleep, and then also gut health. So I'm very, very passionate about getting to the root cause of digestive issues, and really working through a protocol to heal the gut so that you're not dealing with those digestive issues on a chronic day-to-day basis. So kind of in a nutshell, I help health conscious women. And what I mean by that is a lot of women are coming to me already having a good idea of what healthy food looks like. Like they're not the ones eating Doritos and Oreos and just like sitting on the couch all day long. They have a good idea. They have some awareness. But I teach them how to nourish their body and build a foundation for fat loss, because we skip that foundation a lot, while supporting their digestion, their hormones, their energy levels, their metabolism, and figuring out what works for them so that they don't feel stressed or anxious or unsure about food, about exercise, because we need to spend time and brain power on more important things, right? So it's not worth it to spend a lot of time stressing out about this stuff. And I found that for myself, whenever I actually stopped dieting, and controlling calories and being really, really strict about foods I couldn't eat. And I also stopped exercising just to burn calories, going from like the more the better type mindset to like quality, building strength, working out to support my hormones. Then I finally felt this shift. So I learned how to listen to my body, and I'm going to talk about what that looks like for you. And I started eating to support my hormones, because when you do that, like everything else feels pretty good. And also going along with that too, if you're doing the right things and you're eating the right foods for your body, your digestion also will improve, your metabolism will improve, your energy will improve, everything just starts to feel better. So when you're doing the right things consistently and giving your body what it truly needs, to be healthy, so no more ignoring your body, you can maintain a weight and feel confident without having to think about food and exercise all the time, without having to feel like you need to step on the scale if you have a night where you like indulge, or just without stressing about all of it all. And maybe you're not super stressed out right now, but I know it is a rabbit hole that a lot of women go down. So I want to make sure you don't get there. And if you are there already, just know that it is possible for you to get out of the mindset of like only thinking about food and exercise as the way to lose weight. So these are, like I mentioned, some key principles. I could probably list out like 10 of them, but I wanted to keep it kind of concise, obviously. But these are the key principles that I think it's important for a lot of women to realize. And some of these like come with time, so it's not like you have to apply all these right away, but the mistakes that I'll go over and the 4-step framework will kind of cover a lot of these. So your nutrition plan should come from a place of nourishment and not deprivation. Sorry for that typo right there. That should be your nutrition plan. Your nutrition plan should come from a place of nourishment and not deprivation. So it's not how little can we eat, how many foods can we take out. It's how much can we eat to feel nourished, to feel satisfied, to nourish your hormones and your digestion, and actually listen to your body. So instead of saying like, oh, I feel hungry, but I'm not going to eat, or I'm going to fight through this hunger, or like I'm craving this certain thing, instead of feeling like you need to, fight that craving, you're understanding why you're having that craving and what you need to give your body so that those cravings are eliminated, both preemptively and then also in that moment. Another really important thing that I want to emphasize is that you have to get healthy to lose weight and not the other way around. So if you go into your like goal to lose weight with the mindset of I'll do anything to lose weight, even if it means sacrificing my energy, going on a juice cleanse, eating chicken breast and rice for the next 3 weeks while my, kids eat grilled cheese sandwiches, right? It's not like fitting realistically into your lifestyle. If you go into it with that mindset, it's not going to be sustainable. It's also not going to be enjoyable. So when you get healthy first and you build the foundation to lose weight, it's so much easier and it's so much more enjoyable. And I just want everybody to have this approach instead of having that diet mentality right away that like we have to just do whatever it takes to lose weight, because that will backfire. The third principle is that you need to be in a metabolic and hormonally balanced state. So your metabolism and your hormones, we can't talk about one without talking about the other. If they are balanced, fat loss is so much easier. Otherwise, it will feel like an uphill battle. So this is really important for the women who feel like they're trying everything. They're cutting calories. They're down to like 1,200, 1,500 calories a day. They're exercising and the scale still is not budging, or they're just like storing weight around their midsection. Chances are you might be in that caloric deficit, but your metabolism and your hormones are completely out of whack. So that's another key component. And then the last one, which is not cute, we don't really want to hear this, but this is something I have learned from experience and also from working with people who on paper look like they're eating a perfectly wonderful, clean, nutrient-dense diet. If you don't address stress, whether that's real or perceived, then you're not going to fix all of the other issues that are going on. So it's at the root of digestive issues, hormone imbalances, and metabolic shifts that take place in your body that cause you to store fat and also make you really, really tired. So this is why we have to talk about stress. We have to address this as a key component, even though we don't think of that right away when we think of like our nutrition plan, like what's going to help us to lose weight. So a nourishing nutrition plan, that can be a tongue twister if you say it too quickly. This is what I want you to think of. And this is what it looks like. So a nourishing nutrition plan should be supporting your energy levels. So your energy levels should be high, consistent throughout the day. You want to be able to optimize your metabolism. So eat in a way that like just feels good. You're not stressing about the calories. You're not fluctuating between weight loss and weight gain. Gives you more time and flexibility, eliminates cravings, mood swings, and bloating, helps you understand why certain things happen. So you're connecting the dots between like your cravings, your acid reflux, your fatigue, your weight fluctuations. You know why certain things are happening. It should teach you what foods do and don't work for your body. It should make you feel more confident in your body and in your food choices. So you know like what you're eating is the best option for you. And also give you sustainable results, and it doesn't feel super hard to maintain. So that is my version of a nourishing nutrition plan, figuring out if it works for you or doesn't work for you. If you're eating really healthy, but you don't have energy and you're damaging your metabolism and you're bloated all the time, then that's not the right plan for you, and it's not quote unquote working. So I don't want you to make a lot of the mistakes that I made myself and I see a lot of women making. And you might not be making all of these mistakes. So I'm going to just touch on them, and then we're going to talk about what to do instead. So mistake number 1 is thinking that eating less and exercising more is the most effective way to lose weight. So we think about these 2 components, but there's a lot more to the equation in a good way, because the more to the equation part actually makes it easier for us in the long term. So the 2 factors that matter for sustainable fat loss, and I want you to like screenshot this, commit this to memory, whatever you need to do, it's calorie balance and hormonal and metabolic balance. So when I talk about calorie balance, I'm not talking about 1,200, 1,500 calorie a day diets. The first thing you have to do, especially if you've been chronically dieting, is to make sure you're eating enough. So a lot of women jump into a diet and go too extreme with their calorie restriction, so it's not realistic and it does not last. Some signs that you might not be eating enough are if you're under 1,800 calories as an active female. I know this is contrary to popular belief based on everything we read, but 1,500 calories is not enough to support your hormones and your metabolism. So that could work for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. For some people, it even works for months. If they have enough willpower to get through it, then they can do those 1,500 calorie diets, but it's going to damage your metabolism. Your body's going to adapt. Everything's going to slow down, so it's going to disrupt your digestion as well. And then we find that down the road, we can't lose weight. So if you're eating under 1,800 calories, that's likely not enough. If you feel hungry all the time or you have constant cravings, so maybe you're not eating enough throughout the day and then you feel really, really hungry in the evening and you have a ton of cravings. That's one example. If you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, if you are tired all the time, if you have low libido, that's a huge red flag that you're not eating enough. And if you're anxious and you're moody. And again, all of these are connected to hormones as well. I'll talk more about that in a second. But you need to be eating enough calories for balanced hormones. And when I talk about hormones, one easy way to think about these, because I think we think hormones, we think like either puberty or menopause or maybe perimenopause. But our hormones matter, especially, I think the most they matter probably in your 20s and 30s, like as a menstruating active female. And they go beyond just the sex hormones. So we think of progesterone and estrogen, but hormones are chemical messengers and they control our energy, our mood, our sleep, and our weight. And there are so many hormones, but we don't have to worry about a lot of them. These are the key hormones that are really important to keep in mind. And again, this is something if you want a screenshot to, like, if you like learning this stuff, I refer back to a lot of these when we make certain food changes, lifestyle changes, exercise changes, because they're all influenced by food, exercise, and stress and sleep. So cortisol is our stress hormone. It also is known as like the fat storage hormone. Insulin, which helps to control our blood sugar and our cravings. Thyroid hormones, these are the master of our metabolism. Also when thyroid is if our thyroid hormones are slowing down, it's going to slow everything else down. So that also slows down digestion, which is why in cases of like low thyroid or like Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition, often another thing that goes hand in hand with that is high inflammation and also chronic constipation. And then progesterone and estrogen, these are the sex hormones. These regulate our menstrual cycle, also are responsible for libido, as is cortisol. But those are also key sex hormones. And then leptin and ghrelin, these are hunger hormones. So if you're feeling hungry all the time or you're never feeling hungry at all, these are influenced, these hunger signals are influenced by leptin and ghrelin. So the bottom line here is that when our hormones are balanced, it's easier to control hunger because, again, we have those hunger hormones and actually lose weight without restricting calories. So, and I say restricting calories, we need to find the happy medium. We need to find enough that is putting you in a slight caloric deficit so you will lose weight, but it's not too much that feels unsustainable and not manageable and miserable. So that is why finding that happy medium is really important. All right, mistake number 2 is thinking that healthy eating is hard and time consuming. So I think that the reason we think this is because there are so many misconceptions out there that make it seem way harder than it has to be. And depending on where you're at right now with your habits, it definitely could feel like a big change for you. But there are a ton of things that I hear and see everywhere that just make it feel unrealistic. Like I wouldn't even want to start doing it. And I would think that it's healthy or that it's like taking up a lot of time and I wouldn't want to get started with it. So things like you have to completely give up carbs or you have to completely give up fat. Neither one of those work and neither one of those are necessary. You have to eat every 2 hours. I think that sounds really exhausting. You don't have to eat every 2 hours. You don't have to perfectly meal prep your 6 small meals. You don't have to spend a lot of hours in the kitchen. You don't have to get rid of all the foods you like. Like you don't have to just be eating salads and chicken breast. You can still eat tacos and burgers and pizza and ice cream. And again, it fits into this overall framework. So I think knowing that it doesn't have to be this hard is incentive to kind of get started with it. Also, another like big rule that I can't stand is that you cannot eat after 7 p.m. That's just simply not true. Also, completely eliminating sugar. If you're thinking about doing any sort of sugar detox or like with the new year, like completely cutting out sugar, just don't do it. You need to find the balance. Your body actually loves sugar. It needs sugar, but you have to give it to it in the right forms. Completely restricting sugar and going on a super low carb diet will backfire. If not after a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. It also really feeds into an obsessive, unhealthy relationship with food. And I know that firsthand. And if you have ever followed any sort of sugar detox or Whole30, where you're thinking about food all the time, it usually comes back to bite you at some point. So if you have the right system, it's not complicated or time consuming. And if you're following the right things at the right time in a way that makes sense based on where you're at, then it's not going to take up a lot of time. If anything, you'll get time back. So it should feel natural and easy and like second nature. The third mistake is trying to follow a one-size-fits-all plan and DIYing it. So like I mentioned earlier, the majority of the weight loss advice out there is not created specifically for you. It's created for a lot of men who don't have these hormonal fluctuations, who don't have as delicate of hormones, and also who respond really quickly to calorie restriction. Conventional diets do not consider metabolic adaptations and how your metabolism is constantly changing based on what you're giving your body. It doesn't consider physical, mental, emotional stressors. It doesn't consider the adjustment of calorie needs and macro needs, which are different on a daily, weekly basis. Also, are different based on your dieting history and the current state of your metabolism. They don't consider digestion and gut health for the most part. There are some out there that do a good job of that, but again, it's not taking all of these things into account. And it doesn't take into account all the different signs and symptoms that you're dealing with that tell you if something is working or not working. So the misinformation or misapplied information or that lack of direction can be solved by having a system and having a framework so that you're not making these mistakes and you're understanding why you're doing what you're doing and you're doing it in the right order. So things like keto, paleo, macros, intermittent fasting, CrossFit, vegan diets, you have to figure out how they fit into your customized plan. So I'm not going to get too much into like the intricacies of each diet and what they actually entail. But some of them do have a time and a place. So with caveats. So you might follow keto in the short term, but I don't recommend it if you're under a lot of stress or doing CrossFit or pregnant or nursing. I don't recommend doing it for longer than a couple of weeks. What's more important is actually finding your unique carb tolerance and your unique carb balance that really supports your hormones so that you can lose weight. So that's just one example. Macros, intermittent fasting definitely tie into the equation when we talk about meal timing and when we talk about blood sugar balance. So all these things fit into a framework, but you can't just do them haphazardly. You can't just like hear that something's working for someone you see on social media and then try to do that without, you don't know the before and you don't know the after either. You're just seeing like that instant, the during, and you don't know how they're feeling either. So maybe it's the first time they diet and so they did keto and it worked great. Or maybe they're doing something, but they're absolutely miserable. They have digestive issues. They wake up feeling super tired. They're not sleeping well. Like you don't know the underlying kind of like under the iceberg, right? Like you don't know all those other factors that are going on, which is why you have to customize it and you have to put the plan together for yourself. You have to have a plan to optimize your hormones and your metabolism. If this is making sense to you guys, just let me know. I know that it's 11:40, so we're going to go for about 15, 20 more minutes. And then if you want to continue staying on, I'm happy to answer questions. So just to kind of really drive this home, I think that whenever you don't have this plan, that, you have a plan that's only focusing on list of foods, following this meal plan, looking at calories and exercise, you're going to keep jumping from diet to diet and you're not going to find anything that's sustainable. You'll keep wasting time on things that don't really work. And then you'll get frustrated because you're putting in a ton of effort and you don't have a lot of results to show for it. And then you get less and less motivated and, you're like, what's the point, right? Like, why do I continue doing all these things? So that is what I don't want for you. I want you to be able to follow a system. I want you to be able to support the foundations, allow your body to function in a way it's supposed to. You know what and when to do certain things, and you're consistent with it because it's working and it's not really, really hard. And then the last mistake, I'll just touch on this quickly, is waiting for the perfect time to start. I threw this one in last minute because I feel like a lot of people are doing this. There's no such thing as a perfect time. You just have to get started. There's always going to be holidays, birthday parties, vacations. You have to figure out how to eat and live in a way that works, like no matter where you are or what you're doing. And it is possible. Again, we think it's not possible because we overcomplicate stuff and we think that we have to be super strict, but you don't, and you can still feel really, really good. We have to stop like getting ready to get ready. We've been conditioned to put everybody else before ourselves. And again, we think it's really hard and time consuming. But I just want to encourage you and let you know that there will never feel like a perfect time. You just have to get started. Okay. So those were the mistakes, with a few other like little tidbits thrown in there. I want to talk now about the 4-step framework. So this 4-step framework goes in order. We're going to start with setting the foundations and tracking biofeedback. This is the first thing you have to do. And then we're going to cover optimizing your diet and lowering inflammation. This is what's going to help to make you feel more energized and actually feel better, less bloated, more energy. And then thirdly, which this is the one that's like my favorite, it's like the key to more energy, better sleep, no cravings, is balancing your blood sugar. Even if you're not diabetic, even if you don't eat sugar, I promise this is important. And then lastly, restoring your metabolism. And this is a huge missing piece, I think, for a lot of like diets and programs that are out there. So let's talk about step one. So step one is to set up the foundation and track biofeedback. So I wish I had a better word than biofeedback, but that's really what it is. So biofeedback is listening to your body on a physiological level. So how do a lot of us measure progress? We usually step on a scale and we say, oh, it went up 3 pounds. What I did isn't working. Or, oh, it went down 3 pounds. That's great. I'm going to continue to exercise more today and count my calories. But there's a lot more that we need to look at. We have to look closer at what symptoms are you experiencing. And I will force you to pay attention to these things, even if you don't want to, because it takes time, it takes practice. We're used to ignoring our bodies and just doing what someone else tells us to do, or following these rules again. And you go through your day without actually paying attention to things that aren't normal, but we normalize them. So you have to ask yourself, how's your energy? How's your mood? Do you have cravings? And if you do, when do you have cravings? What are they for? How can we prevent those cravings so that we don't have to get to the point where we're relying on willpower? Do you get bloated after meals? Do you get bloated between meals? Or maybe you get bloated later in the evening. Do you have trouble falling asleep? Are you waking up in the middle of the night? Do you lack the motivation to work out, or really just to do anything? Like, do you lack the motivation to be engaged at work, to play with your kids, to go shopping for, Christmas presents? Like, do you have motivation or not? Do you have trouble recovering from workouts? So maybe you actually do work out pretty consistently, but you're having trouble recovering from workouts. You're feeling tired the rest of the day. Those are just a few examples of things that you have to start looking at and really figure out, what is your body telling you? And are you listening? I can't tell you how many times people tell me, well, I'm hungry, but I just drank water instead. Or like, I was so hungry, but I decided to, pop a piece of gum in my mouth. Like, you're not listening to your body. And it really does add up, and it is taxing on your hormones, your energy, your digestion. So instead of just thinking about getting healthy by tracking calories or counting macros or good and bad foods, or again, only using the scale to measure your progress, I want you to shift into tracking all of your physical symptoms, listening to your body, paying attention to the biofeedback. Instead of just, again, looking at this scale, because if you don't do this first, if you don't use this biofeedback tool, then you're going to spend a lot of time guessing, like what you should adjust, what you should do or shouldn't do, black and white rules, and then just jumping to something else. So and I can think of one of my clients who I'm really proud of, Melissa. I hope you don't mind me calling you out, but you're really, really good at this. She is so good at gauging when she's under more stress, what her hunger levels are like throughout the day, how her digestion is. We talk about her energy levels, and then we connect it to like what's going on in her day-to-day and in her week. And so she knows how to adjust her nutrition, her macronutrients, her workout routine, all of those things accordingly. So it takes practice. Like, this doesn't happen overnight, but these are things that you can start paying attention to. And we want to look for certain markers underneath each category. So you can use the acronym SHREDS, and this stands for sleep. We're talking about quality and quantity sleep, your hunger, your recovery. So if you're working out, how you're feeling the rest of the day. Do you feel chronically like sore all the time? That's a sign of poor recovery. Your energy levels. You should not feel like you want to take a nap every day at 3 p.m. Like, it's okay to have a little dip, but we should be able to get into the evening feeling pretty good. Your digestion is really important. You shouldn't feel bloated. You shouldn't be constipated. You should be going to the bathroom every day. And then stress, which is a very huge umbrella term for a lot of things that we'll touch on. But stress monitoring, like where that's coming from, how you're reacting to certain stressors, and really paying attention to how much you have on your plate. on a day-to-day basis. Because what gets measured gets managed. So if we're only measuring the weight on the scale, like that's all we can measure, or that's all we can manage, and we don't really have a lot of control over that on a day-to-day basis. So we need to pay attention to all of these factors. All right, so step 2 is to optimize your diet and lower inflammation. So this is when the nourishing nutrition approach really, really comes into play. I talk about optimizing your diet and really focusing on adding in nutrient-dense calories. So we have to talk about quality and we have to talk about quantity. Optimizing your diet does not look like eating perfectly. If you're trying to eat perfectly, you're going to set yourself up for failure. What it does look like is first eating enough calories. Again, for fat loss, you want to make sure you're not overdoing it, but also you're not restricting too much and you're not eating too little. You want to eat to control hunger and satiety. So if you can shut off hunger hormones and feel satiated, you can go longer without eating, and you're not going to be thinking about food all the time, and you're not going to be battling those cravings. Also, eating nutrients that support your metabolism, your hormones, and your gut. So this includes micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals. That's why nutrient-dense foods are important. And it includes macronutrients. So this is where protein, carbs, and fat come into play. And if you stay until the end, that Build Your Plate guide actually is like where I cover that stuff. So it's really, really helpful for making sure that you are getting the right balance of protein and carbs and fat. And I'll give you this little spoiler that I do have a specific approach that I recommend kind of as a baseline level for clients, but none of it is super low fat or super low carb. It's balancing it out so that you are supporting your hormones and your energy levels so that you're naturally losing weight. So what it doesn't look like is 1,500 calories a day, like I mentioned, super low carb, super low fat, any diet foods, so like bars and shakes and things like that. It doesn't look like just boring salads and chicken breasts, and it does not look like ignoring your hunger. I'm really big on that if you can't tell. And then the inflammation piece really comes into play when we talk about food quality. So you can screenshot this if you want to. This is just scratching the surface of some things that can cause inflammation. And when we lower chronic inflammation, again, we feel better overall. We feel less puffy. This is something that can happen even within a week or two of just changing up the foods that you're eating. So if you're eating a lot of foods that you're sensitive to, which are different for everybody, but some common ones are gluten and dairy, and also grains fall into that category, then you're going to feel, and you might not realize it because you're dealing with it every single day, but if you're sensitive to these foods and you're eating them every single day, taking them out for a period of time and just seeing how you feel can be really, really helpful. Also, digestive issues are a huge source of inflammation. So if you have this inflammation in your body, it's going to be harder to lose weight. Your body is going to be holding on to fat more easily as a protective mechanism. And again, you'll feel more tired and just kind of foggy overall. So locking in on the foods that work specifically for your diet or for your body and incorporating that into your overall diet plan is going to be really, really helpful. So the goal is to optimize your diet. And when I say diet, I'm talking about like what you eat. So if you do this with enough real nutrient-dense foods, then you're going to eliminate cravings. You're going to get rid of bloating and digestive issues. You're going to have energy all day long, and you'll actually feel satisfied with your meals. So that's the second step, is to optimize your diet. And in the program that I'll talk about at the end, we actually spend 3 weeks on this. So we spend 3 weeks on optimizing your diet, figuring out your macronutrients, figuring out the foods that work for your body, and also putting it all together so you know what to eat, when to eat. So it's like easy second nature for you. Okay, step 3, this one's my favorite one. I could talk on and on. I could do an entire workshop on just balancing your blood sugar. But what I want you to know is that it is the key to getting rid of cravings, sleeping better. If your hormone drops, or if your blood sugar drops in the middle of the night, you're going to wake up and feel very alert. It's also the key to more energy throughout the day. And of course, having healthy, balanced hormones. So if any of these sound like you probably have blood sugar imbalances. You can't go 2 hours without eating. You're always snacking or grazing. You know, you don't sit down to eat like a solid meal. I used to do that. You have headaches, you get lightheaded, you wake up in the middle of the night, and you have cravings all the time for sugar, carbs, salt, whatever it is. So blood sugar balance is important, again, for all of these things. A lot of the symptoms we deal with on a very day-to-day basis that are frustrating. So if we balance our blood sugar, then we're gonna find that our energy, our mood, our sleep, our cravings all improve. Cravings improve, meaning cravings go away. So I have a 5S strategy to balance blood sugar. And these are the 5. We're not gonna get into all of them. But these are the ones that we cover in the program that I'll talk about at the end. So the first one is to structure your plate: protein, fat, carbs. The second one is to swap your carbs. This is very specific per person, and you want to find your unique carb tolerance. Smart snacking. So I'm not saying no snacking at all, but when you do snack, you know that it's blood sugar balancing. Doing a stress check, getting really real on all the different stressors that are causing blood sugar imbalances. And then sleep quality is really important. And when you lock in on these 5s, you'll get off of that. We want the green line. We don't want that red line going up and down and up and down. So overview, if you want to screenshot this, this is also in the Build Your Plate guide that's at the end of this workshop. So you want to structure your plate with protein, fat, and carbs. And this is an example of how structure can create flexibility. This is just a starting point for you. This is how you can figure out what's working. So if this is working, if it's not working, and then from there, what you need to adjust. Each macronutrient provides different sources of fuel, and so we can use those based on our activity levels and just how we want to feel, which is really important to understand. All right, step 4 is to restore your metabolism. So some women, if this is the first time you've ever tried to diet, and maybe you've actually just been eating whatever the heck you want to your whole entire life, you've never paid attention to calories, you don't even exercise that much, you probably don't have to do any recovery work for your metabolism. You'll be pretty responsive to just simply reducing calories, again, slightly, not to an extreme, because that will damage your metabolism, and increasing your exercise a little bit more. So that is the good news for those people. But for women who have already dieted, or you've lost weight in the past, and then you regain it, or you're working out and you're eating low calorie, but you're holding on to weight, nothing is changing. And also other indicators of metabolic dysfunction. You have low sex drive, you get cold easily, your hair falls out, you have dry skin, brittle nails. Those are all connected to your thyroid hormones. So another big sign is that if you tell me you don't feel hungry at all, you wake up, you're not hungry, you're never really hungry throughout the day, you could get through the day on 900 calories and feel fine, that's a huge red flag. Or on the other end, if you can't control your hunger, you're feeling hungry all the time, then that's also a sign of metabolic dysfunction. Another way to think of it is that it's called, it's metabolic adaptation. So your metabolism isn't actually broken. It's doing exactly what it should be doing, which is conserving energy. So if you have dieted in the past, lost weight, then regained it, or you've been through really stressful periods of time, people overlook this completely. They don't know why their body feels differently now. But when we look back and we say, okay, you've had babies, you've gone through this emotional trauma, you've had surgeries, you've had injuries, whatever it is, you've been through a lot of work stress, mental stress, whatever it is, this is going to cause metabolic adaptations. And there's obvious stress and there's less obvious stress. I think a lot of us don't think about checking your phone every single day first thing in the morning is stressful. Watching the news is stressful. Not eating enough calories, your body perceives that as a stress. Not getting enough sunlight, your body also perceives that as stress. Over exercising. So this classic combination of doing all the things too intensely and not realizing how the stress builds up is getting 6 hours of sleep, waking up early, going to a spin class. So that's sleep stress, workout stress, coming home, just having coffee and fasting until 11 a.m. And then, maybe eating a light salad for lunch and going on with your day. You're doing all of the things, but those are all stress, and those are all going to be very taxing on your metabolism and your hormones, so that when you do eat, your your body isn't even burning any energy. And with those workouts that you're doing, it's getting more and more efficient. So that hour-long spin class that would burn 400 calories, that's a lot of calories in an hour, but maybe it burned 200 calories, and your body's getting more efficient because it's doing the same thing every single day, and it knows, like, I'm going to be smart, I'm going to conserve energy, I'm going to save it up for later because I don't know what other fuel I'm going to be getting. So then you're only burning 100 calories in that hour-long session. So your metabolism is smart and it adapts, but it is flexible. We want it to be flexible in a way that works to your advantage. We want it to be flexible by, if we're going to exercise more, we need to eat more. And there will be days where you're exercising less, so you're naturally not as hungry and you're going to eat less. And that's totally fine. But we want it to be able to respond to the foods that we're giving to it. We want it to be able to burn fat for fuel, and we want it to be able to burn carbs for fuel instead of just relying on carbohydrates all the time. Again, going back to that blood sugar issue, that's going to put you on the blood sugar roller coaster. So, I mean, if any of these things sound like you, that I mentioned before, you definitely have to focus a little bit more on the metabolic repair side of things. And so some easy ways to start doing this: if you're low calorie, I want you to start slowly increasing your calories. So you increase up to a maintenance number, which again, I wouldn't recommend going below 1800. And if you're really, really low calorie right now, you need to slowly work your way back up to that. Also focusing on cortisol reducing movements throughout the day, like walking. For workouts, strength training, and I say smart conditioning because this is very individual. You need to gauge where you're at in your menstrual cycle, also with your stress levels, to decide like how much intense exercise to throw in. And you need to be constantly evaluating your stressors. So both internal and external stresses. And also what can be helpful is adding in specific nutrients, so specific foods, especially for your thyroid. And then also targeted supplements can help as well. So those are just some things to get started with. Again, we get more into this in the Body Rebalance program that I'm about to go over, but this kind of scratches the surface and gives you an idea. Okay, maybe you need to be slowly eating a little bit more. Maybe you need to be doing less intense and less stressful exercise. If you're not under a lot of stress and you can handle those higher intensity exercise classes, go for it. But if you're doing them and then you don't have energy the rest of the day, that's a huge red flag. So just be aware of that. And that goes back to number one, is to track your biofeedback. So here's a quick recap, the 4 steps. So set the foundations, track biofeedback. So that SHREDS tool is what you can use. Optimize your diet and lower inflammation, balance blood sugar, and restore your metabolism. So it's 12 o'clock right now. So on the dot, this was an hour. So I'll try to cut some things out, maybe a little bit less in the beginning or go through it quicker to keep it at 45 minutes. But I hope that you found a lot of this information valuable. And I want to give you some next steps to take. But since you stayed until the end, I actually want to, I kind of want to fast forward so I can give you guys that free bonus that I promised. It's a little bit further at the end, but we'll skip to that really quickly. So if you have to jump off, since it's at the hour, I want to honor your time. I want to make sure that you get this. I might have to copy and paste this into the chat box. That is where you can get the bonus. I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat box real quickly, so you can grab that bonus. And again, that'll take you to download the Build Your Plate Guide and hopefully get you started with some helpful ideas to balance your blood sugar, optimize your diet, also make sure that you're eating enough. So with that, let's go back because I want to talk about next steps. If you're interested in taking things further, you want to continue with this momentum. I've been kind of teasing this program for a little while. I did a beta for this program back in June, I think, and have revamped it. So it is better. It is a little bit longer, but the content is great and you get a lot of one-on-one coaching with me. So with that, the price point is a little higher. It is an investment, and I am keeping this as more of an intimate group. So we're taking 10 women for this January group. And we start on January 18th. So you have a couple weeks to kind of prep. But today is when enrollment actually opens. So I want to give you guys first dibs on this. But I kind of jumped ahead a little bit. You do have two options. So option one is that you take everything that you've learned and you apply it as best as you can. You can watch the replay that I send out after, and you can really start to dive in and like, okay, I need to start eating more calories. Like I'm going to start doing that. So you're going to start with that, right? Or option two is you can get support and customization. A lot of those things that I only had time to just like touch on, we'll get more customization and we'll build it out into this framework. So this is where the Body Rebalance program comes into play. With this program, we're going to actually go over how to customize your nutrition plan so that it works for you. You're going to be able to eat foods that you enjoy without stressing about it so much and about stressing about gaining weight, because again, we're working towards that flexible metabolism. You're going to learn how to build your perfect plate no matter what. So whether you're eating out or traveling or at a birthday party or whatever it is, and actually get rid of cravings preventatively so that you're not going to have to rely on willpower. And if you do have cravings for ice cream, pizza, like, I don't know, banana bread, I love banana bread, whatever it is, there's healthy versions or even, healthy versions, but you don't have to know that. No one else knows that whenever you're making it. There are so many good products out there, so many great resources that I share with you in this program so that you're never feeling like you can't have certain foods, or that you are, unable to honor those cravings. I want you to be able to honor your cravings. You'll also, in this program, we'll go over how to set yourself up for success every single day with the easy shortcuts and planning strategies, because I mentioned that it should feel like second nature. It does not have to be really, really hard. And there are shortcuts and strategies and things that I share with you and that other women in the group share with you that make it much, much easier. And you'll learn exactly what foods work for your body. I give you the structure to follow. I give you the recommendations, and then we figure out from there kind of tailoring what works and what doesn't work. So this program is going to help you build a foundation for fat loss. Again, we want to have that foundation so that it'll be sustainable. With a nutrient-dense, really knowing what that looks like, anti-inflammatory diet, that is the focus. And we really focus on nourishment over deprivation so that you can create your unique plan, one that's specific to you, you know why you're doing what you're doing, and it feels sustainable, easy, and enjoyable. So how do you know if this program is for you or not? If you want to shed some extra body fat, but you don't want to restrict in a way that leaves you hungry and exhausted and antisocial, I know that I've definitely felt that way when I've tried to follow certain plans, and I see other people doing it too. And it's just not a way to live. Like, you just don't want to do that for the long term. So I want you to get out of the diet mentality and learn how to properly fuel your body. And we know that this fits into a system, so we know why we're doing what we're doing. I want you to feel confident in what and when and how to eat without having to stress about it all the time. Also, if you're joining this program, you have to be committed and you have to be ready to focus on the right tools. So some things might be a little different than what you've done in the past, but there's a reason for everything. And it will help you to create a sustainable long-term plan. So this is not for people who want that quick diet, that quick fix of just like following a meal plan strictly for 10 weeks and then going on their way. We aren't doing anything extreme. We're not doing extreme restriction. We're doing things that'll help you to actually be consistent. So you're going to have the structure, and knowing that structure creates flexibility. I'm really, really big on that. I wouldn't be where I am today, I guess, if I didn't have that structure in the first place. So we have to start somewhere to figure out what's working, and then we can be flexible with it. Also, if you don't know by now how big I am on optimizing your hormones and your metabolism and supporting your digestion, because if you have digestive issues, that's going to contribute to inflammation, and a lot of other issues with your mood and your energy and your skin. So we want to make sure that we're eating in a way that's supporting all of these things. So the program is broken up into 5 phases. The first one is setting up the foundations. Again, this is where we get clear not only on the mindset stuff that's important, We talk about like myths and misconceptions and things like that. But we also talk about what it looks like to set up your environment for success, making sure that you are eating enough calories, also very, very important. We don't want to skip over these things. So phase one, right away, we get really, really clear on the foundations and just preparing your body for the next 9 weeks. And then in phase two is where we get more into the optimizing your diet piece. So this is where you can create your nourishing nutrition plan. And what I mean by this is we're figuring out the right amount of food to eat, what to eat, how to eat, which is very important. We talk about meal timing and meal frequency. And we do it all in a way that is very, very simple and realistic, and works like with your schedule and your preferences and things like that. So phase three, this is where we get into the good stuff with your metabolism, with your hormones, and everything you're doing throughout the program is working towards balancing your hormones. So we keep that in mind overall. But this is where you're figuring out, okay, what does my body actually need? Like, why am I feeling this way? What do I need to focus on more? So I give you the tools to do that. And this is also where we talk about digestion. So there is an entire training on troubleshooting digestion. So bloating, constipation, acid reflux, things like that. It's really important to get a handle on those things so that it's not making stuff way harder than it has to be. Phase four, we talk about the things that a lot of other diets don't talk about. So supporting your lifestyle. We talk about stress, not only stress reduction techniques, but also stress response, stress resilience, things that actually help your body to better respond and tolerate all of the things that are out of our control. We talk about sleep a lot too. So quality and quantity are both important. If you're struggling with sleep right now and that's like really interfering with your life, then we go through that for an entire week. And I give you a lot of tools that will help to make sure that you can improve your sleep. And then also we talk about movement. So proper movement, what it looks like based on where you're at right now. We're all kind of starting in different places with what type of workout routine we're on. Like maybe some of us are doing CrossFit right now. Maybe some of us are just going for walks. But we talk about how to customize your movement routine so that it's working for hormones and for fat loss. And then phase five is where we talk more about simplifying and maintaining. So we put everything together, and then we talk about what it looks like to continue carrying out your plan. And also, I should mention, you have lifetime access to the program. So even though this phase five is during week 10 of the program, you can continue going through everything just at your own pace. And then any future programs that we run with this, you can still jump into the coaching calls, which we'll talk about in a second. But the goal here is to simplify, maintain, carry that out. And again, learn how to be flexible with it based on the structure that you created and knowing what works. So again, there is the free bonus that I mentioned. Hopefully you grab that with the link in the chat box. I'm going to double check to make sure that that is accessible to everybody. It was set to private earlier, so I'll double check that. But thank you so much for staying until the end. I just, again, want to recognize it's 10 after 12, so thank you for sticking with me if you've made it this far. And I will send out the replay to those of you who couldn't quite stay all the way, but this is what I want you to actually like imagine for yourself. And this is what can happen if you want to take what you learn in this workshop too and just continue following me. Hopefully you get my emails, you're in my Facebook group. You can achieve a lot of this. But if you want to take things further and you're ready to be a part of a group, get that customization, get that guidance from me starting January 18th, then these are some of the things that I know are possible for you. Having the tools and the knowledge that you need to support your body in a way that feels good and sustainable and doesn't feel like you're dieting all the time. Like, honestly, sometimes the more you know about it, like the more stuff you learn and you look at what everybody else is doing, you're like, no, but at least you will feel empowered and you will be able to make the right decisions. And if you're committed and you are following the recommendations, using the tools that I'll share with you that make it really, really easy, then I know that you will be able to find something that is enjoyable and sustainable. And you don't have to feel like you're depriving yourself. Again, there might be some habit changes that we're going to work on, but you shouldn't feel like you're not eating any of the foods that you like, or that it's like super boring, or that you have to be antisocial. You should be able to fit into your clothes, love the way you look, and not feel like you have to step on the scale every single day. So you're maintaining your weight without feeling like you have to diet or like you have to be perfect all the time. If you go out or go to a party and you have a ton of cheese and crackers, like, it's no big deal. The next day, you weigh the same, you feel the same, you look the same, all is good. Okay, so program details. And then next, I'm gonna give you a link to register if you wanna register on this call. If you do that, you do get a one-on-one call with me. So we'll go in depth for an hour. We'll talk about where you need to focus and the direction that you're gonna go in throughout the program. But this program starts on January 18th. So there will be time to sign up over the next 2 weeks. But again, it's limited to 10 people. So first come, first serve, obviously. All the lessons and materials will be available on Practice Better, which is an app that you can download on your phone. And it's also on your web browser as well. So everything is in one place, easy to download, easily accessible. We have weekly Zoom group calls. And I recommend that you try to come to these live, but if you can't, if the times don't work out for you, then you get the replays. So you also get a ton of tools. So a lot of worksheets and things that are really, really helpful, weekly meal plans to guide you, recipes. We simplify it. So you don't have to spend hours at the grocery store or meal prepping. I just want to put that out there. That's one of the myths that I tried to knock, but we do it in a way that's very, very simple. So you have that meal matrix, which tells you kind of like how to piece your meals together. We have a food and mood journal, and that's on Practice Better. So if you want to use that to track, you can do that. Checklists, supplement recommendations, and just handouts that are helpful based on like the content that we're covering for that week. We also have group chat on Practice Better for support and coaching. So there's a big like thread there that we can all talk to each other on, which is awesome for asking questions and just sharing experiences and things like that. And then you also get direct support and coaching with me. So we do this through the Zoom group calls. You also get it through the one-on-one session if you do schedule during this time. And then, of course, you get like all of the community and connection with other like-minded women. So other people who are in the program who you can talk with and connect with and stay in touch with. Because you guys are all on the same page, you're learning the same things, you know what you're doing, why you're doing it. This is just kind of an example of some of the different like handouts that you'll get. Again, I don't recommend following strict meal plans, but you do have those kind of as like training wheels, I like to call them. You get really helpful, like just kind of checklists. So like the snack list is really helpful. The Build Your Plate guide with the like portion size recommendations. The goal there being to figure out your specific portion sizes and how to eat for satiety. We talk about obviously digestion. So there's a guide to end bloating. We get into cravings a lot. So we have a Decode Your Craving guide. Just lots of good stuff. So I'm gonna actually pop the link to register really quickly as I continue going over all of this. I'm going to copy and paste this. So if you want to check it out, you can. And if you aren't sure right now, then you can schedule a free strategy session with me. If you just want to talk more, I'm happy to do that. So if you register today by the end of the webinar, then you will get that one-on-one session with me. So that's kind of the incentive for taking action right now. Actually, just kidding. By the end of today, not by the end of this webinar, because I'm going to send out the replay. So by the end of the day, if you register, you'll get that in-depth one-on-one strategy session with me. One-on-one coaching, also to kind of put it in perspective. So one-on-one coaching for 3 months is between $1,200 and $1,500. So there's that option. Obviously, if you want to schedule one-on-one with me, I would love to do that. But this group coaching, we have that community aspect, and you're getting a ton of materials and like step-by-step with those group coaching calls too. The entire 10-week program is $997. Or if you want to break up this into payments, you can do 2 payments of $450. There's also that option when you go to the link to register. If you have any questions on this too, or you want a different payment option, or you're not sure if it's right for you, you can always email me. So Megan@megancrozier.com. That's my email address. Really easy. Then you can use that, of course. So, but check out that link. That will take you to Practice Better, which is what you will register through. That will enroll you into the program. And then I'll send you some things right away just to help you kind of get started, get the wheels turning between now and January 18th. So back to the program details. So again, these are some of the details that I mentioned, the handouts, and then everything we covered. There's so much good stuff in here. You're welcome, Stephanie. Thanks for coming. Yay. Thanks, guys. Okay. Enjoy. Yeah, and I will send out the replay if you guys want to like look over anything. But this is like some of what we cover, kind of like summarizing the different topics and things that we go over. But again, it's all manageable. It's all simplified. But it's very comprehensive because they don't want you just following another like Whole30 diety plan, right? Like we're doing coaching, we're doing the mindset work, we're doing the stress work, we're dialing in on your sleep, and we're eating in a way that's going to help you lose fat over the 10-week period and also sustain that. So you're not yo-yo dieting. Thanks, Megan, for coming. I'm glad you guys like this information. Again, there's so much that I can dive into. We will be doing more workshops in January. So if there's any specific topics you guys want me to cover, let me know. But since this program is starting soon, I definitely wanted to make sure that I offer this to you guys first and foremost. But yeah, hopefully this information was helpful for you and you have a good idea and you're downloading that Build Your Plate guide. That'll help you too, just so that you can get started. Because I want you to have the energy, the confidence to be able to lose weight, maintain a healthy weight, have a flexible metabolism, not deal with cravings and things like that. And ultimately be the like expert of your body. I think that's really important to know why you're doing what you're doing and why certain things are happening, and you know how to adjust. And if you don't, you have a coach who helps you figure out what you need to troubleshoot. So, alrighty. Well, thank you guys for coming. If anybody's still on and you want to pop any questions in, I'm happy to answer them. I can stay for a little longer. But otherwise, obviously, if you want to jump off, you can totally do that. See, I'm gonna not share my screen anymore so you can see my face. There are still a few people on here. Awesome. So if anyone has questions, just pop them in. Thank you to my mom for being my tech person. Alrighty. If nobody has any other questions, I'm gonna jump off. I will be sending out the replay in a little bit. And again, I'll share links to the details for the group program if you're thinking about joining that. Or if you wanna reach out with any questions you have, definitely don't hesitate to do that. Again, Megan@megancrozier.com, super easy for you. But yeah, thanks for joining me on this Monday morning. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and Happy New Year. So whatever you're doing to celebrate, I hope you have fun and enjoy yourself. And I will talk to you guys soon. Okay, bye.